The bridge of the ISS Defiant hummed with quiet efficiency as Mia Chen reviewed the tactical displays before her. As Fleet Admiral of the Terran Expeditionary Force, she had seen her share of diplomatic posturing, but this was something else entirely. "Ma'am, the Valorian Empire is hailing us again," Lieutenant Kevin Marshall reported from the communications station, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of his screens. "Third time in the last hour." Mia allowed herself a small smile. "Let me guess, more threats." "Yes, ma'am. High Executors Arthan demands our immediate withdrawal from the Epsilon sector, or they'll reduce our primitive vessels to cosmic dust." Kevin's tone carried barely suppressed amusement around the bridge. Several officers exchanged knowing glances. Mia stood, smoothing her uniform, and gestured for Kevin to open the channel. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of High Executors Arthan. The Valorian stood nearly 8 feet tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming purple under the lights of his command ship. For eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his elongated head fixed on Mia with what she assumed was supposed to be intimidating intensity. "Human Admiral," Zarthan voice rumbled through the translator, each word dripping with condescension. "You have precisely one of your Earth hours to retreat beyond the boundary markers. The Epsilon sector belongs to the Valorian Empire by right of conquest. Your presence here is an insult to our ancient lineage." Mia folded her arms, her expression pleasant. "High Executor, with all due respect, humanity doesn't recognize conquest as a legitimate claim to inhabited systems. The people of Epsilon 4 requested our protection, and we've granted it." Zarthan's mandibles clicked in what the cultural database suggested was indignation. "Protection? You've been a spacefaring species for less than 2 centuries. The Valorian Empire has ruled these stars for 10,000 years. We have conquered 500 worlds, our fleet numbers in the thousands. Your 8 little ships are nothing." "8 little ships," Mia repeated thoughtfully. She glanced at Kevin, who was clearly struggling not to laugh. "High Executor, before you commit to this course of action, might I suggest you consult your historical archives, specifically any records you might have about humanity's first contact situations. We have no need of, because if you had," Mia continued smoothly, "you'd know that humanity has a peculiar tendency to surprise people who underestimate us. It's almost a tradition at this point." Zarthan's exoskeleton seemed to darken. "Your arrogance will be your downfall. I will give you this final chance. Human, withdraw, or face annihilation." Mia's smile never wavered. "I respectfully decline. We'll be staying right here." The view screen went dark as Zarthan severed the connection. "Well," Kevin said, turning to face Mia, "that went about as expected. Sensors are picking up the Valorian fleet forming up. Looks like 300 ships, mostly cruiser class, with about 50 capital vessels. And how long until they're in weapons range?" 20 minutes, ma'am." Mia returned to her command chair. "Sound general quarters, battle stations, and Kevin, please send a narrow beam transmission to the Indomitable, resolute, fearless, stalwart, vigilant, courageous, and relentless. Tell them to proceed with Protocol Sigma 7. Mum." Kevin's fingers danced across his console. "All ships acknowledge. They're moving into position now." The minutes ticked by. On the tactical display, the Valorian fleet advanced in a traditional hammer and anvil formation textbook strategy for a numerically superior force. It was, Mia reflected, exactly what the Terran tactical computers had predicted. "They're hailing again," Kevin announced. On screen, Zarthan appeared once more, his 4 eyes blazing with triumph. "Last chance, human. My fleet will reach firing range in 3 of your minutes. Surrender now, and we will allow your crews to return to your primitive homeworld." "That's very generous," Mia said, "but I think we'll pass. However, I should warn you." "Enough," Zarthan roared. "Your time is. We've had gravity manipulation for 50 years, Mia said quietly. Zarthan paused. "What a gravity manipulation?" "Full spectrum control. We've been able to create, redirect, and nullify gravitational fields for half a century now. I mention this because, well, she gestured to Kevin, "executing Protocol Sigma 7. Kevin announced, On the tactical display, something remarkable happened. The 7 other ships of the Terran fleet suddenly changed. Space around them rippled like water, and each vessel became surrounded by what looked like distorted starlight. What trickery is this? Zarthan demanded. No trickery. High Executor. Just applied physics. You see, when you can manipulate gravity, you can do interesting things. For example, you can create localized gravitational lenses around your ships. Makes targeting rather difficult. The Valorian fleet opened fire. Brilliant energy beams and kinetic projectiles lanced across space toward the Terran vessels, and every single shot curved away, bent by the intense gravitational fields, spiraling harmlessly into the void. But that's just defense. Mia continued conversationally. Offense is where things get really interesting. Kevin, if you would. With pleasure. Mum. The 7 Terran ships each fired what appeared to be a single projectile, small, dark objects that accelerated to a fraction of light speed in seconds. Gravitational Incas, Mia explained as Zarthan watched his tactical displays in growing horror. They lock onto the largest mass in their vicinity and then multiply the local gravitational constant by a factor of about 10,000. Very localized effect, but quite dramatic. The Incas reached the Valorian fleet. Instantly, 50 capital ships found themselves unable to maneuver, their own mass pulling them together like moths to a flame. Smaller vessels spun out of control as their navigation systems tried to compensate for the impossible gravity wells that had appeared among them. Now, High Executor, Mia said, leaning forward, we can either end this right here, or we can proceed to the next phase, where we demonstrate what happens when you can create microsingularities on demand. It's very effective, but rather messy. Your choice. Zarthan stared at her, all for eyes wide. Behind him, his bridge crew was in chaos, shouting in their native language as they struggled with their crippled fleet. This is impossible, he whispered. No, Mia corrected gently. It's just humanity. We're fairly new to space, that's true. But we've had to fight for everything we've ever achieved against our own planet, against each other, against the assumption that we'd never reach the stars. We learned a long time ago that impossible is just a word that means difficult, and difficult. She smiled. Difficult is what we do best. Kevin cleared his throat. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from Epsilon 4. The colonists are reporting that Valorian ground forces are retreating to their transports. Excellent. Mia returned her attention to Zarthan. So, High Executor, shall we discuss a withdrawal schedule for your forces? Or, would you prefer the messy option? Zarthan's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. According to the cultural database, we will withdraw. Splendid. Kevin, release the gravitational anchors. Let's let our new friends go home. As the Valorian fleet limped away, Kevin approached Mia's chair. You know they're going to warn the other empires about us now. Good, Mia said, still smiling. Saves us from having to repeat this conversation. Besides, humanity has always done better when people know not to underestimate us. On the view screen, the stars of the Epsilon sector shone serenely, and humanity's 8 little ships stood guard, smiling in quiet amusement at the retreating empire.